Welcome back. I'm Joel Block, and I welcome you to the Real Estate Syndication and Seminar Symposium, which we're going to be holding quite shortly. I welcome you to participate in that with us. Details are available at the bottom of the page. I want to continue moving through the material. This is the 7th part that I want you to review. Questions from our audiences that have come in. We've selected the best questions, the most important questions, the most representative questions of all, so that you can have the benefit of those. The information is available in careful detail. More information and more detail will be provided at our seminar. Let's start by reviewing some of the questions that people are asking us. First, they write in, Joel, how do federal requirements affect syndication? In general, everything that we're talking about in the syndication business somehow falls under the purview of the federal government and the Securities and Exchange Commission. In 1929, when the stock market crashed, there were thieves and criminals and con men that were taking money from investors. By 1933, the Congress had come up with a plan for creating the Securities and Exchange Commission so that they could overview and oversee all of the securities activity that was happening. A security is any kind of activity where somebody gives you money and they're not involved in it and they're depending on the management and control of other people. Therefore, since investors are giving you money without necessarily being involved, the federal government has deemed it a security. That means that they can take over. In 1933 and 34, when they put these rules together, it created an enormous need for accountants and an enormous need for securities professionals of all kinds, including attorneys and others, to be very careful and pay attention to these documents. Most of the syndications that we're involved with are all exempt from these rules because they're smaller than what the SEC has determined is relevant. But nevertheless, it's critical to follow the rules that are set up. Those rules are beyond the scope of this discussion, and they require an attorney to be involved, but the basics will be provided when we talk about that at our seminar. Next, how do you have to pick up pick the property out before you syndicate it? The answer in a nutshell is no. You don't have to identify the property. You can, if you want to, create what's called a blind pool. That means the investors pour their money into an account and you spend it at your discretion. Everybody that I've ever met wishes that they could have a blind pool. It sounds like it would be the greatest thing in the world. Let me assure you, if you can make it happen, it probably would be great. But two things get in the way. Number one, if you don't have a substantial track record, nobody's going to give you a material amount of money to go out and spend as you wish. Number two, pools always have some kind of a formula. You have to say, we're going to be investing in distressed apartment buildings. We're going to be doing single-family residences that are in foreclosure. You have to tell the investors what you're going to do with the money, and there has to be a charter for the pool. You can't go spend a little bit on real estate and then go finance a film and then go do something else. You don't ever get that much discretion, nor do you want it, because the syndication documents have to be very clear, and the more clear they are, the better. Next question I get, Joel, do I need a special attorney to work on these documents? Absolutely and unequivocally yes. The regular attorney, the business gentleman or a woman that you deal with, is not going to cut it under these circumstances unless they have special training as a securities attorney. Securities is a special area of the law. Make sure you're dealing with a securities attorney. Part of the issue is the securities attorney carry special insurance, and those people really need to be working on your deals. It's not to say that you can't get some advice from your other attorneys, but when it comes right down to writing your documents, most other attorneys will shy away because they're not insured, and that's not what they do every day. Next question. Do I need a private placement memorandum, otherwise known as a PPM? Absolutely, yes you do. You must give the investors documentation that explains what's happening in the deal, how it's working, and what you're going to do with their money. It's mandatory that you provide that information to them. More importantly, you have to provide it to them so that you protect yourself. The more information that you give to the investor, the more protection you have if something goes wrong. Be very careful, document your risks, be very careful to let investors know everything that you know in advance so that they can make an informed decision about getting involved with you. That way they can never say that they didn't know. The last thing that you want is for an investor to come back to you and say, you didn't tell me something important, I want my money back, or worse. Next question. How many people constitute a syndication? Believe it or not, just 2 people. If one person gives you some money and you do some work, that might be considered a syndication under securities law. Be careful to talk to an attorney. Even with as few as 1 or 2 people, you might have a security that needs special attention. If you're using an LLC format, you might have the opportunity to move around it, but be very careful. Get very sharp attorneys to work with you and put them on your team. Treat them with great respect because they're your greatest ally in this environment. And finally, what format should my PPM use? Is there a specified or required format? The answer? No, there's not. There's no requirement for what the PPM has to look like. There are some suggestions or guidelines about what needs to be in it. Bottom line is you need to give your investors whatever information they need to make an informed decision. Give them that information and you're going to be way better off in the long run. We hope to see you at our upcoming Real Estate Syndication and Deal Making Symposium. It's going to be a great program. We're going to go into these topics and lots more. There'll be experts and other people that you can network with. Please join us. Go to the bottom of the page for more information. Until then, I'm Joel Block, looking forward to doing deals with you.